Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word, and I'm Roberta Foster. Today, I welcome Anina Swan to Author's Corner, and she has written the book Alligator in the Ocean, which is published by Morgan James Publishing. She'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. Here's a little bit of information about Anina. She is a retired art teacher, a children's advocate, women's advocate, author, blogger, and public speaker. She has coached gymnastics, soccer, and skiing. She's also volunteered at children's camps for cancer survivors. She hosts discussions such as crimes against children, child abuse, human trafficking, depression, guilt, and self-harm. And she'll tell you more about how to get in touch with her at the end of the program. Anina, welcome to Author's Corner.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you for inviting me today.
Your book subtitle is One Family's Fight to Stop a Serial Predator and Their Determination to Heal. So why don't you give us an overview of your story?
Of course. So I was raised in a small town in Idaho by my parents, and I have 3 sisters. And in that town, there was a man who my family trusted and my community trusted that abused me. And I was abused for about 3 years. We lived there for approximately 6. And a couple of ways that he abused me was he sold me to a child pornographer, which now and today we call that an avenue of child trafficking. And then the second way that he abused me was called sadistic abuse. And that's when he forced me to watch basically crimes of violence, and that was very difficult because the ages that I experienced the abuse was approximately 4 to 8 years old. The good side of that and the amazing part of my life and experiencing this kind of hardship as a child was I went to church, I went to Vacation Bible School, and it was in Vacation Bible School when I was only 5 years old because I needed to be rescued and I was looking for help. I accepted the Lord as my Savior after my Vacation Bible School teacher taught me about how David overcame Goliath and was able to protect himself and his community from this kind of evil. And I connected to this little boy because in the poster that she showed us, he was not portrayed as a man. David was portrayed as a child. And I connected to that and was able to open my ears to this living God that she was teaching me about. And from then on, I believed and I progressed with this childlike strength that I had, that I had attained in my faith. And I moved forward and I battled this giant who I called the alligator until my adulthood, and he was eventually put in prison.
Well, it says in the information that you actually lost many of your memories at that young age. And how in that did that kind of protect you until you were, I guess, old enough to handle it?
Yeah, so we moved away when I was 8 years old, and the abuse stopped, the crimes stopped. And for many years, until I was in my mid-20s, I had experienced what is called today traumatic amnesia or dissociative amnesia, repressed memory. There's different levels of forgetting. And yes, I think it was a godsend to protect me from my inability to cope with what was happening to me as a child. And then when we moved and I lived a good life and a happy life and I wasn't abused anymore, I had remembered bits and pieces of my childhood, but I really just wanted to keep those bits and pieces stuffed down, and I wanted to forget those parts that I kept remembering until I was a young adult. And then I was not able to shake those memories off. That repressed memory broke through to my conscious memory. And basically God was telling me, okay, it's time. We are going to tackle what happened to you during your childhood. And it came in the form of dreams. I had one reoccurring dream that actually ended up being bits and pieces of some of the crimes that happened to me. And along with that, those dreams was physical symptoms of incredible fear, difficulty breathing, and abdominal pain. And because I wasn't able to shake that, I decided to find a counselor and go to a Christian counselor. And he immediately noticed that when we talked about my life growing up until I was, in my mid-20s, he knew there was a time in my life that I would not talk about. So he helped me to explore, and he took me to the safe places of that time span. And pretty soon, the little bits and pieces formed the whole picture of what had happened.
Well, you were an adult when you came to realize what had happened, as you just told us. In that realization, did you have a time of blaming God or questioning God why in the world he allowed this to happen to you as a child? Because that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, is why does the Lord allow children to be the victims of sexual abuse?
Oh, gosh. And that was the turning point. That was where, I hit the worst hurdle of my life, questioning my faith, doubting my faith, and yes, asking, who is this God that allows children to be abused in the way that I was? And other children were abused too. This man, Ivan, had over 200 victims, and we'll get to that in a moment. But, what my husband and I would just respectfully to our God, we're humans. And so doubting based on the pain and suffering either we go through or we hear others go through is just normal, I think, for who we are as humans. And we sometimes, and I did, measured God, my holy God, based on the pain and suffering I experienced. But yet I knew that this God that I learned about all my life in the Bible, this great, sovereign, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent God who is just love first, there was more to it. There was more to it, and I was going to learn, and God was going to take me through that. And because we live in a fallen world where we have a free will, some people in this world choose the path of wickedness, and they choose to harm, and they want to harm, and I was a victim of that. But it didn't measure who my God was, who my healer was, and who aligned me with everything I needed to heal in the days that I chose to keep going, keep forward, healing and becoming a steadfast woman and a completely healed woman from those layers of wounds. So I see the wounds that happened to me in layers, from the skin to the bone, the soul to the spirit. And it was the soul to the spirit, those wounds deep inside, that God was going to help me heal by a wonderful group of people that helped me. It wasn't just one thing. And by the power of his mighty word, he's a living God. And he lived it with me, and he lived healing with me. And he was what took me forward to who I am today.
Well, we're going to talk some more with Anina Swan in just a moment. I'm talking to her about the book she's written, Alligator in the Ocean, One Family's Fight to Stop a Serial Predator and Their Determination to Heal. It's published by Morgan James Publishing, and you're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. Before we started our interview officially, you were telling me the style in which you wrote the book was kind of like a crime story. So tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, so when the repressed memory came to my conscious memory, and I finally saw the actual person and the people who were harming me and who were committing these crimes that I talk about delicately, I crafted some of the crimes in the book so that people understand that it's really things that are currently happening today. But what I decided to do was to dispel the myth that there's only one kind of person that commits crimes like this, but really it's the condition of the heart. So it can be anybody. It can be a pastor. It can be a teacher. It can be a coach, a volunteer, a neighbor, a family member. And so as I was healing, I realized, oh my goodness, these are just people that, as it says in Psalm 10, it talks about and describes who the wicked people are that hunt down the weak. Those can be children. And this is what resonated with me in Psalm 10. His mouth is full of lies and threats. Trouble and evil are under his tongue. He lies in wait near the village. From ambush, he murders the innocent. His eyes watch in secret for his victims. Like a lion, he covers himself and lies in wait to catch the helpless.
Wow.
They are crushed and collapsed under his strength. So that is the condition of the heart I'm talking about. It can be anybody. And when we realized this man, we knew who he was. I recognized him. And he was still working with children in another state. So my husband and I decided there's a very good chance this man is still involved in criminal behavior toward children. So we, together with my counselor, called ahead to social services to warn them, this is what I remember as a child. You may want to look into this. And they did. And from there, what happened unfolded like a crime story. The investigators were involved. Social services were involved. The place where he worked was alerted, and because I wasn't a part of that, whatever unfolded, he was asked to resign, and he attempted suicide and failed instead. And then from there, while he was in the hospital trying to recover from his suicide attempt, he started confessing to his crimes, and then from there it unfolded like a crime story, and it was a crime story.
Yes. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes left, but what I also want our listeners to know, you use the phrase completely healed woman. Part of that healing comes from forgiveness, does it not?
Absolutely, yes.
And so how did you come to a place of forgiving your abuser?
Well, because the Lord's Prayer tells us that we are to forgive those who sin against us, and I understood that. I just didn't know how to do that.
Okay.
And so I went on a search for how do I forgive this man, and I realized that I was looking through my eyes at what forgiveness meant, and I thought it meant reconciliation in addition.
Okay.
And I knew that I couldn't reconcile with an evil man that wasn't remorseful and was not redeemed himself. But what I learned was to look at forgiveness through Christ's eyes. And Christ is the power of how we forgive. And when we forgive, we take all those sins and we place them at the foot of the cross, and God takes them from there, and He is the final judge.
Yes.
And we can move forward and live forward free from the pain and the suffering and the memories of those sins that have been committed against us. And that's what freed me.
Well, with sex abuse and trafficking just growing terribly fast in our society today, what advice can you give to parents about how to best protect their children from sexual predators?
Yeah, it's really difficult because we're not with our kids all the time.
Right.
But I would say most importantly is be vigilant. Listen to the discernment that we often say, oh, it's nothing. No, I'm just overreacting. Pray over your children every day and believe in the discernment the Holy Spirit gives you. If there's obvious marks when they come home from wherever they've been and they are unusually upset, or they bring gifts home, or they're saying, I don't like this person, but they can't say why. You want to teach them communication skills and help them maybe to write things down, write a story, draw pictures.
Okay.
Look at those obvious marks. If there's swelling, rash, bruising around the genital areas or the body where, there's bruises that you don't understand or can't explain. These are just some of the ways you can be vigilant and just stay loving and calm and write everything down. And every day, just listen to those small signs if your child's upset and really dig in and lovingly try to find answers. Ask God to show you the answers.
Okay. All righty. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. I've been talking with Anina Swan about her book, Alligator in the Ocean. And before you leave us, Anina, tell our listeners how they can find out more about your ministry efforts and, of course, your book.
Yes, you can go to my website, alligatorintheocean.com, and that's one word. And there's a lot of information on there. There's a resource page, helplines, hotlines. If you're currently in trouble or your child's in trouble, I will give you those on my resource page. You can get a free ebook there, and you can go to any platform that sells books to purchase my book or get the free ebook on my resource page, alligatorintheocean.com.
And so one more time, the book is Alligator in the Ocean. It's subtitled One Family's Fight to Stop a Serial Predator and Their Determination to Heal. I've been talking with the author, Anina Swan, and we certainly thank Morgan James Publishing for providing a copy of the book for us today. Anina, thank you for being vulnerable to our listeners and the work you're doing to help stop future sexual predators.
Thank you, Roberta.
And to our listeners, if you'd like to hear this interview again, or perhaps you know somebody that has gone through sexual abuse and needs healing, this may be the interview they need to listen to. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform or through kneo.org. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join me again next time.
The world is in chaos, and you're here for a purpose. What does the Bible have to say about it all? I'm Mark Taylor, host of Crosspoint podcast and radio show, and I'd like to invite you to join me each week as I navigate the complexities of faith, culture, and personal growth. Each week, I interview a different guest who is making an impact on the culture for God's kingdom. Whether you're seeking spiritual guidance, true information, or a fresh perspective, this podcast equips you to discern truth in today's chaotic world. When Christianity intersects with everyday life, that's where you'll find Crosspoint, sometimes discussing the issues that some churches don't want to talk about. Look up Crosspoint with Mark Taylor wherever you get your podcast, produced by KNEO Radio and the Sky High Podcast Network.